thank you so much for having me here. It's a great honor to be part of this event and to have a word here with all of you. I was asked to provide some inspiration for the teams working really hard here around new ideas for the future education.
Wherever.
And I thought I would like to talk a little bit more about technology and what are the kind of key shifts that technology is driving in global education. And here's again the organization I represent, the United Nations Technology Innovation Lab, our logo in the beautiful universe of education. So I hope I can also bring an international education perspective to this event. So the future of education, that's the theme for today, and there's been some brilliant talks already today around the topic. And when I start talking about future of education, I always like to start by doing this. Rather than talking about education, I like to talk about learning. And why? Well, let's just take a moment thinking about what is the difference between education and learning. Try to think about the first memory you have about learning and about education. Like, what's the first thing that pops in your mind that you can remember? For me, the first thing I remember about education is my first day at school. Probably same thing for most of you guys as well. And how did I feel when I started school? I was a little bit anxious, very excited as well, but a little bit anxious about how I'm going to be charged, how I'm going to fit the form, will I make some friends, and so on. So it was a little bit intimidating, although exciting as well. And about learning, what pops to my mind is when I learned to ride a bicycle. My childhood home was at the top of the hill, and I just got rid of the support wheels for the first time. And oh, the joy when I realized that I can really do this. It was pure joy, freedom, exhilaration, a beautiful thing to feel, really feeling that there's a whole new world of opportunities opening beyond me, all the places I could go with my little bike. And what really separates education from learning is that education comes from outside. The youth needs to be educated. They go to an institution. They are warehoused to pass on certain skills and values and knowledge to the children. But the funny thing is that education doesn't actually guarantee learning. We should be much more focused on learning, the learning goals, the learning results. If you look at the global picture, it's quite shocking. As many of you probably know, over 55% of all the kids, primary and secondary level globally, who go to school, they don't have the minimum proficiency in reading and mathematics by the time they finish. Over the half. That's quite shocking. So what is clear is that we need radical innovation in learning to have learning results. And in order to innovate, I think the good place to start is to rethink the key concepts. What we mean by education, what we mean by learning, and what are the goals, what are the objectives. And there are some key shifts happening in the world that technology is driving. And one is from moving from what to learn, what are the subjects, to how we are learning. And the beautiful thing is that we have all the what, we have the information available if you have access to internet. Mind you that half the world's population is not online yet, so even there we have a long way to go. But many people feel quite anxious about what they should be learning. What do we know? What do we need to know exactly to thrive in this world that's been disrupted, and 50% of the jobs that exist are not going to exist in a while? That's quite unsettling to many. And there's talk about 21st century skills and all these new soft skills that are emerging, but that's not enough to know exactly what we should be doing. So the more important question is to ask how we learn and how we make learning possible for everybody. And the beautiful thing about technology is that it's facilitating the how, it's facilitating new ways of learning, and it's a beautiful way to really take the new pedagogical approaches to new learning environments. There's play-based learning, there's gaming happening, there's virtual reality games happening in the next door room right now as we speak. And these new pedagogies are also great because when you take learning in context, it's much more powerful. The contextual learning is supposed to be about 50% more powerful than learning that happens in a classroom. And this is fueled by technology. So that's fantastic. Then we have another thing, moving from degrees and learning just for the purpose of having degrees to really learning for your personal mission and finding your personal mission. And this is fantastic that the young generations are really driven by purpose. The millennials are actually often referred to as the generation purpose. Over 90% of them want to find it more important to contribute to a cause than have a high salary, which is quite fantastic. And if you look at the degrees as well, even if you have a high degree, it doesn't guarantee a good life anymore. It doesn't guarantee a job or high wage anymore. Actually, in many countries, the academic unemployment is quite high. So that's good. That gives me hope for the future, that we focus on purpose. And also technology is great because we can build these communities of purpose across the borders of time and countries, across the time and space, and bring people together to make a change. Then another important thing is that everybody can be a teacher right now. It's not just the teachers, that the old hierarchy, top-down, the teacher passing on the knowledge has died for good. Everybody has something to teach, and the new technologies are making also that possible, that we can reach out and we can share what we have to inspire others. And moreover, teachers seem to be quite worried about this sometimes, especially in the countries where the education is still hierarchical, like in many developing countries. Teachers are quite worried that, is technology going to steal my job? Well, I don't see this is the case. We always will need teachers. It's just the role of the teachers that we need to rethink in this world as it is right now. And teachers are very important in motivating, providing the feasible environment for learning. So the teacher role is more to facilitate. And also in the classrooms, teachers are now able to use tech to help their work. There can be different interfaces for teachers to understand the learning profiles of their class, and then they can adjust the instruction to match individual learners' preferences and styles. So mainstreaming adaptive learning is really possible for the first time ever. And also, as mentioned before, the learning doesn't have to happen in a classroom anymore. There's over 260 million people and lots more people, but kids out of school-age kids, 260 million. So let's not think about the classrooms, but learning that happens everywhere in communities out there. And the final point, learning is really for life. So let's not think about education as tied to certain period of life or certain institution anymore, but something that is everybody's concern and privilege every day. And it's really important that we come up with new innovation to maintain learnability and ability to learn throughout the life, so everybody, even at the older age, could again have that feeling that I had when I learned to ride a bike. You know what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow. What a wonderful presentation. It really exploded our view on what education and learning especially means. Questions, comments for your colleague? Did she infuse you with that enthusiasm? Makes me really happy about the UN nowadays. They're doing so many wonderful things also here. Tell us about the work in the lab. I mean, it's probably a very unconventional lab. To be honest, I had never heard of the UN's lab on this topic, so you didn't really which is great that you didn't talk about it because it's usually this is what we do in the lab. But I'm really seriously interested in what kind of laboratory are we talking about for the UN? What is their modus operandi? How do they really function in this field?
Thanks for that. Thanks for giving me a mandate to talk about what we do at the lab as well.
I wanted to hear more about that.
Right. So we are a global network, and currently we have labs here in Helsinki, Espoo. And this is the first of a kind globally, but we also have labs in Malaysia now in operation.
So labs.
Egypt. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. And also, we are headquartered in New York. Okay. And then we have this Finland and India and Egypt and Malaysia ongoing. And there will be more labs opening soon. And education is a wonderful thing because I think it can really empower all the other sustainable development goals.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, it's critical. It's critical, yeah.
And we work with global partners and tech partners to think about what are the technologies that can really be applied at large scale to transform how the education is done and how to reach every learner. People in conflicts, people in refugee camps, people who need reskilling because the industries are changing, and so on. So we want to make the innovations and ability to learn available for everybody.
Very cool.
That's our mission, and that's why we reach out to innovators, small companies, big companies, to find ways to cooperate.
Well, please, send our greetings to your colleagues in New York and Egypt and Malaysia and all your wonderful colleagues that are coming. We're really excited to see all of the work you're going to be doing, and I'm sure that everybody here will be able to benefit from that wonderful work in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm happy to do that.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks.
Be well. Thank you. Give her a big hand. Yes.